Hey, good morning. This is Alicia Cummings on my joyous journey. I just made a video before this one. Want to talk to you about, you know, being aware of your surroundings and, being more wise about the company that you keep because everybody's intentions are not good for you. We be thinking that. We think that sometimes because somebody may be laughing and joking and, making you feel as if they're there for you. And once you start drinking and, indulging in, like Mary Jane or something like that, it alters your mindset. And a lot of times, things that are you're not would approve of, or you would things that you wouldn't approve of, or things that you definitely would not do. It starts to get a little cloudy, especially once they have put something in your drink. That's why it's best to, you know, I'm just going to say, just give your life over to the Lord. Because He is the main and only one really that can protect you. Because then you will not be in situations such as those, Uh, someone altering your mind and your thoughts by placing something in your drink, uh, or Mary Jane, you know, um, they don't give a flying, what about you. They do not care. They only are there to get what they can get from you and offer you. And if that means it's your body, they will take it. Okay. Um, and they won't be apologetic about it at that time. You know, that's one of the worst things that happen to a woman or even a man, as a young adult and or even an older adult where you just still don't, not using your spirit of discernment, you know. Um, and things can happen to you. Not necessarily it could be SA or gang SA, or anything like that. It could be, someone finagling money out of you, trying to, you know, basically rob you. And it could be, someone close to you that you trust. That if you don't trust them a little bit of certain things, you thought that you could trust them as far as not taking your money from you. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. You don't see. It could be someone you thought that you trusted they would want to take from you. Because see, some people, a lot of people nowadays, some people are just on drugs and they cannot help themselves, and they just, sick, you know, and they will. They will. It's a very strong possibility that they will. I'm not saying that they did all the way. Look, they will take your money. You got people that are your so-called best friends, that have some kicking it time with some guys or something, and you're a little bit too tipsy all of a sudden, you just pass out and go to sleep. Next morning, you wake up and your money is gone. Off your person, off of me, you know what I'm saying? And then years later, you think it was a guy that took it, but it really was your best friend that got you. You know, some best friend, some from friend. Never was your friend from the jump, you know. And you go here 30 years or so thinking that somebody's your best friend when they really have bad intentions for you. They are jealous of you, you know what I'm saying? And they're mad because of the light that you have. You know, when you give to them, you gave to them, things have happened in the past where you're not so freely to give them money or to let them borrow money or things like that. Um, but sometimes, not all people deserve to be in your life, or just it's just time has, stretched out to where you're pulled apart to where they're not really or should not have ever really been a part of you. But you've learned your lesson, and you will. The next friends that you have will be men and women of God, you know, that love you and care for you and care about you, you know, and just don't want bad for you. Not everybody's like that, but you go in, when you begin to go to church and things like that, and just have an open mind because everybody's coming from different paths of life, but they all come meet together because they're giving their life over to Christ. So it's it's a blessing to be around those that believe the same that you believe and have been hurt by family and friends that they trusted and loved, and still love them, but this time it's just like you have to love them from afar because if they're not giving their life over to the Lord and they're still out partying and kicking it, gotta have a drink here and there, there's something going on deeply within them that they need to be, you know, kind of chastised about by the Lord, but just loved on by the Lord at the same time. A chastisement by the Lord is very, He knows it. Just like, and another woman, I'm gonna say this: forgiveness is powerful. Yes, it is one thing to forgive others, you know, forgive yourself majorly. It may be something that you did that you didn't do, you know what I mean? You didn't do it, but at the same time, you may have put yourself in a predicament that could have happened. That does not mean it's your fault. It's not your fault, but we have to be aware of our surroundings. We have to take accountability for our actions. Okay, we can't just put everything on them. What happened? What happened to, you know, what happened? If they could be at your house or you could be somewhere else, why are they in your house and you don't know them that well at all? Why are you around them and you don't know them that well? If you don't know them that well, I wouldn't drink around them or anything. I don't care if it was a pop, I wouldn't drink it around them. You know what I mean? Let alone alcohol, and stop being around people you don't know that well. Because you could be in a predicament where you're just sitting there just still, but you have this feeling that something's not right. And then, next thing you know, there's guys coming over just to holler at their homeboy, all of a sudden. And texting is just horrible because you don't know what a person's saying versus them being on the phone. They kind of talking code. You can kind of, you know, finagle away in their mind. No, you know what they're talking about in some sort of way. No, this is a text like, come on through. She's here. Come on through. You know? And that was the worst part. That's the worst. Than just, somebody just popping up or they talk to each other on the phone or something real quick and say little things in code and then all of a sudden they're coming over here. And that's your cue to try to leave if they let you, or if the guy lets you. You don't know what they're trying to take things from you. I've had a guy kidnap me to a point where he snatched my leather coat. He snatched my coat and ran out the door with it at a little juke joint thing, you know. And I was a little bit tipsy. I was under that coat. Sleepy just snatched my coat, and his way of getting me in his car. Okay. And like, I'm trying to get my coat. He's like, I'm about to go. He kind of like started the engine. But I'm like, I don't want him to take my coat. If I was thinking, I'm like, forget that coat. Let the coat go. Bye, because you don't know what his intentions were. He wasn't a bad person, but he was bad for trying to take me away from where I'm just chilling and I'm, waiting on my friends, thinking that I'm taking off with him. And he just like, soon as we get around there, the corner to my friend's car, and we're like, come on. And I'm trying to grab my coat and get out the door, and this door slammed shut, and he just sped off with me in the car. That's not the first time that had happened to me where I had been kidnapped or drugged or something like that at a young age. I was legal, but I was not. I was young, and I just did not think, at those times. So, I just it was crazy. I was so uncomfortable, and we're going places out around the city. We were going places, and I was just with them like a dummy. Like, I just say, hey, save me. I'm being kidnapped here. You know what I'm saying? All he wanted to do was just sit there with me. He wanted to be in my presence or something, like, because I wasn't giving him the attention that he wanted. I'm quick like that. I being a bee like that, just cold hard. But when somebody would just like kind of, tick me off and just, get on my nerves or something, I just don't want to be bothered by them. And I'm sure people was like, "What's wrong with that?" Nothing, like, because I had to keep the same energy, because some people they just do things like, kidnap you. Next thing you know, we're in the parking lot at my friend's apartment. We woke up, we were asleep because I told him where to go, but I didn't remember where I told him to go. you know, and it wasn't anything, as the actual was going on. He just really wanted to be in my presence, and I didn't understand why. A guy would want to be in my presence sometimes, there's been times that I'm chasing a guy that I really want to be with, and they did not want me, and I couldn't get it in my head. Like, no matter how bad you try to be with someone that does not want you, uh, you know, they don't want you. They don't want you. And, I don't think that my decisions in the past were very good, the type of guys that I chose. For one, I chose, and that was the wrong thing. It should have been God choosing for me at each given time. But like I said, we all have to go through things in our life. Sometimes we learn from them right away or close to it, or sometimes it takes us a whole lot of time because our mind is a little bit warped. When you start being intimate with other people, or a boyfriend that may have a lot of girlfriends, or in the past, or somebody that they're dealing with, that they have let go. That's why you should always be married. You should be married before you give yourself to someone. That should be your husband, or that should be your wife. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, um, A lot of things we bring on ourselves because we're disobedient. Not if we're not knowing about what the Lord can do for us. Not without us knowing that the Lord can change us. You know, because some people haven't been. So just always say that if you give your life to the Lord, He will change everything around about you. And yes, it does take work. It takes work to work on yourself to heal from brokenness. Okay? Because if you're out there like that, like I was, you know, just kicking in and want to have fun on the streets and stuff like that, there's pretty big price that you have to pay. And it is humbling you to the point where, hey, you know, if I had this to do all over again, Lord God, please forgive me for my sins. You know, things could happen to you all the time, but you have to forgive yourself and let God give it all to God and let Him forgive you.